Hey guys, so we're continuing on with 3.5 notes, and these are the steps for solving multi-step equations. So we had originally been doing two-step equations. Now we're going to move on to multi-step, okay? And here are the steps that you take when you're solving a multi-step equation. Your first step is if there are any parentheses, you are going to get rid of those parentheses. And to get rid of those parentheses, you have to use the distributive property. And remember, that comes from Unit 1, okay? So distributive property, remember, is if you have a 2 on the outside of your parentheses and you have an x plus 2 on the inside, you take that 2 and you multiply it in. That's what the distributive property is. That's what we mean by getting rid of the parentheses. That's your first step. Your second step in a multi-step equation is CLT, which is combine like terms. So remember, an example of like terms would be 2x and 4x. Those are like terms, okay? The third step is to get the variable onto one side of your equation. And in order to move a variable onto one side, you can only add or subtract. So whenever you are moving something, it is always adding or subtracting, okay? And then the last step is obviously your final goal in all of this, and that is to isolate the variable. Which, in other words, it means solve, right? Get a number for your variable, okay? So let's look at our examples. In the first example, um, we have 2x plus 4 plus 3x equals 19. The first step is to get rid of parentheses, but there are no parentheses, so we move on to the next step. The next step is to combine like terms. So I notice that 2x and 3x are like terms that are on the same side. Okay, so I'm going to combine those. 2x plus 3x is 5x. Then I'm going to rewrite the rest of my problem. I still have a plus 4, and I still have an equals 19. My next step is to get my variables onto one side and my numbers onto the other. So right now my variables are on the left side, my x is on the left, so I want to get rid of the plus 4, and this becomes a two-step equation again. So in order to get rid of the plus 4, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. When I do that, I get a result of 5x, the 4's go away, equals 15. And then to solve for this one, remember I'm going to undo that 5x means times, and so I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to divide. So if I divide both sides by 5, always both sides, it gets rid of the 5's here, and my final answer is x equals 15 divided by 5, which is 3. Okay, let's try the next one. In the next example, we have 3x minus 9x minus 7 equals 23. There are no parentheses, so we skip that first step. The second step is to combine like terms. There are, however, like terms here. 3x minus 9x. So 3x minus 9x is negative 6x. Then I'm just going to write down the rest of my problem. Minus 7 equals 23. Now I have a two-step equation again. So remember, I'm going to get rid of the adding and subtracting first. So since it's minus 7, I'm going to add 7, always to both sides. When I add 7 to both sides, I now get negative 6x, the 7's go away, equals 23 plus 7, which is 30. My final step here, remember that negative 6x, when you see that, means that it is multiplying. So in order to get rid of the multiplying, I'm going to divide and make sure I keep the negative sign with it. So when I divide by the negative 6 onto both sides, I get a final answer of x equals 30 divided by negative 6 is negative 5. Okay, the next one is a U try. Okay, same thing as above. There are no parentheses, but there is like terms. So my like terms here would be negative 5x and positive 2x. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3x. Still have the minus 8 and still have equals 13. Next, I'm going to get rid of the adding and subtracting. Since it's minus 8, I'm going to add 8 to both sides. When I do that, the 8's go away, and I have negative 3x equals 13 plus 8, which is 21. And then remember, negative 3x is the same as negative 3 times x. So to undo times, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3, and I'm going to keep the negative sign with it. So when I do that, I get x equals 21 divided by negative 3 is negative 7. Okay? Take your time with these. In the next set of examples, I'm still following the same steps, but they look a little bit different. I'm actually going to get my variables onto one side this time. Okay? So for these examples, first step is to get rid of the parentheses. There are no parentheses in the first example, so therefore I do not have to get rid of any parentheses or distribute. The next step is to combine like terms, okay? It's important to note that the second step, combining like terms, and the seventh step are interchangeable, which means that you could technically do the first step, the second step first, okay, before you combine like terms. So before I combine like terms, I'm going to get my variables onto one side, okay? And in order to do that, I have to add or subtract, okay? So I noticed that my 3x can in fact be combined with my 8x, but I want to move it onto the left side. So I want to move this 3x onto the other side. Since it is positive, in order to move that onto the left side, I'm going to subtract it from the right side and subtract it from the left side to solve here, okay? So when I do that, I subtracted it from the right side, so it is actually gone on the right side of my equation. And when I combine like terms here, I have 8 minus 3x, or 8x minus 3x, which is 5x, still plus 4, equals 19 now. Now I have a two-step equation to solve. Get rid of the adding and subtracting first. Since it's a plus 4, I'm going to minus 4, always from both sides. When I do that, I've got 5x, the 4's go away, equals 15. And then from here, 5x is the same as 5 times x. So the opposite of times is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And my final answer is x equals 3. Okay? So in this one, we get rid of parentheses, but if there are no parentheses, the next step is to move your variables onto one side of the equation. So notice in the next one, there are no parentheses, but I do have like terms that I can combine. I've got 6x and I've got a negative 2x that is on the other side. So I like to put my variables on the left. So if I want to move this 2x onto the left side, I have to do the opposite. Since it's a negative 2, I'm going to add it to take it away from the right side and move it to the left side. So when I take it away from the right, I am now left with 6x plus 2x is 8x, still have a minus 4, still equals a negative 20. Make sure you take the sign that is with out front of the number. Now I have a two-step equation again. Minus 4, or the 8x is being subtracted by 4, so I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to add 4 to both sides. When I do that, the 4's go away. 8x equals negative 20 plus 4 is a negative 16. Then from there, 8x is the same as 8 times x, so I'm going to undo it, and I'm going to divide both sides by 8. When I do that, I get x equals negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2. Okay? And now here's the last you try. Okay? Again, I notice that my like terms, there's no parentheses, but my like terms are 4x and negative 5x. So I want to move this 4x onto that side. In order to do so, I need to do the opposite. Since it's positive 4x, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. When I do that, I get negative 5x minus 4x is negative 9x. We still have a minus 8, and we still have an equals negative 26. So then I'm back to my two-step equation, and I'm going to, since 8 is being subtracted, I'm going to add it to both sides. So I'm going to add 8 here, and I'm going to add 8 here. When I do that, I'm left with negative 9x, the 8 goes away, the 8's go away, equals negative 26 plus 8 is negative 18. Then from there, I know that negative 9x means negative 9 times x, so I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to divide. Make sure you keep the negative sign with the number always. So if I divide both sides by negative 9, they go away, and x equals negative 18 divided by negative 9 is a positive 2. Make sure you take your time with these and follow the steps that I outlined here. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.